The Ruthless Aggression Era. What a time it was to be alive. This is the era that I grew up on. This was the era that made me into the wrestling fan I am today. And for me and for people my age, this was our peak wrestling fandom. This was our Attitude Era. This was our golden age. If you were born in the late 90s and early 2000s, this was a time when the WWE was simply your life. It was all you watched. It was all you talked about with your friends. For me, when I think of wrestling, this is the era I think about. This is the era that brought me the most joy and excitement as a kid, and it all makes sense because, like I said, I was a kid during this era. This was when I was the most obsessed with wrestling, and this will be a time period that always resonates with me the most. But it's funny how even growing up, I would always hear stuff from older cousins and older friends and read stuff online during this period about, I hate wrestling now, wrestling used to be better, I miss the Attitude Era, wrestling sucks, I miss this, I miss that, I miss Val Venis getting his penis chopped off, wrestling is dead. And I was like, what? Because for us, we were having the time of our lives. The Attitude Era was always on this pedestal as the end all and be all of wrestling, like nothing else mattered after the Attitude Era. But nah man, the Ruthless Aggression Era was just as special, and I'm so happy that now it's finally getting the credit it deserves, because before this, if you were on the internet, even just like 4 years ago, it was just Attitude Era this, Attitude Era that. But finally it's changing and people are realizing that the Ruthless Aggression Era was awesome. Now, was it all sunshine and rainbows in this era? Hell no. I mean, yo, we had Katie Vick, HLA, Vince randomly saying the N-word, hide and rape, babies being kicked, Eugene was a character, and much more. I'm not saying this era was perfect by any means. I realize it, trust me. I grew up watching SmackDown, and the mid-card had wrestlers like Kenzo Suzuki and Rene Dupree, and I swear, 75% of the Raws during this time opened with Triple H taking 20 minutes to say 5 sentences. Something, I am the gamer. Something, I'm the only diamond in this industry. Like, I get it, but I don't care. Because regardless, it was a time when to me and many other people my age, wrestling was simply our lives. And the Ruthless Aggression Era was awesome. I mean, look at the roster. From 2002 to 2008, the WWE roster was just GOAT tier. The talent they had was just legendary. Vito, Heidenreich, Simon Dean, Trevor, Murdoch. Okay, hold up, wrong list. What the What made the roster so elite is you had this mixture of WWE stars from the 90s and 2000 mixed in with the new faces of a generation. Where do I even start? Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Batista, Randy Orton, Edge, RVD, Booker T, Rey Mysterio, Kane, Christian, Jeff Hardy, Ric Flair. I don't care if he was 57 years old. I'm happy I'm able to say I grew up watching Ric Flair. During this time, you know, Foley would come back, Goldberg spent a year in the company, Hogan would come back and, you know, did this. But looking back, I'm just so happy I was able to watch wrestlers like Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle, Eddie and Undertaker wrestle weekly, wrestle on Raw and SmackDown. And at the same time, I'm happy I saw John Cena slowly become the biggest star in the business, see the rise of a new generation, see Batista go from generic wrestler number 55 to Yakuza leader. What made the era so special to me was that everything still meant something. Championships meant something. Matches like Hell in a Cell and TLC meant something. They were used when needed, not because, oh shit, it's December. Throw everybody in a TLC match for the pay-per-view. And also, I remember as a kid that every single year, WrestleMania was a banger. Every single year, from WrestleMania 19 till 24, Mania was a classic guaranteed. And speaking of classics, the matches. Let's be honest, the wrestling itself was such a huge improvement over the Attitude Era. Every single year was filled with amazing matches. Just name me a random year from the era and I can easily name 10 must-watch matches off the top of my head. A Reddit user, Matthew Muir, 3 years ago made a list of the essential Ruthless Aggression Era matches, and there are so many must-watches. Angle versus Michaels, Orton versus Cactus Jack, Eddie versus Brock, Batista and Triple H, my mom versus my dad. Wait, what? Angle and Lesnar, and just so many more. And during this time, they had so many fun innovations. Elimination Chamber was introduced, and as a kid, I'm not gonna lie, Taboo Tuesday was the coolest thing ever. Even if the choices were pretty stupid sometimes, like geez, I wonder who's gonna win this one, JR? But Money in the Bank changed the game, and how about the fact that they did ECW One Night Stand? We don't talk about the relaunch though. even on SmackDown, you just tune in and all you see is a ring-breaking superplex, Eddie's win at No Way Out, Undertaker is back to being dead again, WrestleMania 20 is ending, and Batista choosing Raw and power bombing Triple H through the table, Edge cashing in and making me want to break my TV. It was just a fun time. SmackDown versus Raw at this point meant something, and every show felt so different from the other. Eric Bischoff was the general manager of Raw, and I hated this man so much. You guys remember when the WWE intro would air, and instead of the logo at the end, they showed Eric's face, and the crowd would just boo? The memories, man. The memories. Eric Bischoff was the perfect GM for Raw, and Teddy Long. We were also so blessed with the fact that we grew up with some elite commentary. Raw had good old JR and Jerry Lawler, SmackDown had Taz and Michael Cole when he was actually tolerable, and I loved them. These were the voices of my childhood. Monday nights with JR and King, Thursdays and Fridays with Taz and Cole, and they had so much chemistry together and they worked so well and they both fit their show so well. It didn't even feel like they were commentary teams. Honestly, it felt like they were your friends. There was like this low-key bond between the commentary team and the viewer. But an underrated aspect of the era was the music. The music is so important in wrestling, and this era captured it perfectly. It did everything so well. Let's be honest, this was the peak of wrestlers' theme songs. They were never the same after this, and they were cool before, but this, without a doubt, the Ruthless Aggression Era had the best themes. I don't care. Edge with Metalingus, Orton with Burning My Light, Cena's Worth Life and Time Is Now, Rey Mysterio 619 and Booyaka, Batista had I Walk Alone, Kane Slow Chemical, Christian Just Close Your Eyes, Mark Henry had 3-6 Mafia turn up on SmackDown and had Somebody's Gonna Get It as his theme, MVP's theme, Evolution. There are so many, it just goes on and on. But also during this time, the pay-per-view theme songs, oh my god, the nostalgia at this point, yo, I can't function right now. So even the promo, like the hype up videos before a main event, GG, like the production at this time was just GOAT tier. The unique stages, the pyro, the entrances, the lighting, the camera angles, the music, and lastly, during this time period, what was so important were the video games. You guys know me for my love of WWE games, and this was the peak of WWE gaming for me. From Shut Your Mouth to SVR07, that was the peak of wrestling games. The season modes, GM mode, Fulfill Your Fantasy. The games were a big part of this time period. The games made me appreciate the real product more, to be honest. This time period for us was just perfect. It was the perfect storm. The roster was stacked beyond comprehension. There were countless matches and moments and storylines that we will never forget. Wrestling at this point was just fun. But the biggest reason why it was fun for us, why this era was so awesome, is because we were kids. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. Older fans look at this time and they might only see the negatives. They remember the boring parts and they miss when they were kids watching the Attitude Era. But the cycle just continues because that's how we felt when we would watch the PG era. It's just a cycle that just goes on and on. You're always going to have a soft spot for what you grew up on. There's kids out there who love the PG era from like 2009 until 2015 more than anything. And as crazy as it is to think, there are going to be kids who look back at like 2017 to 2020 as their childhood, and they're going to always have a soft spot for that wrestling. It's just how life goes. But at the end of the day, after just rambling about the Ruthless Aggression Era and getting nostalgic, it just makes me so happy. I'm so happy I grew up during this time, and I'm happy that I built this channel talking about the Ruthless Aggression Era, and I'm bringing back these memories for you because we need a voice too, you know what I mean? Like I said, I grew up on the internet, all I heard was Attitude Era this, Attitude Era that, but hey man, at the end of the day, the Attitude Era kids had fun, but so did we. And honestly, I wouldn't change it for anything. Sure, wrestling was bigger in the 80s and the Attitude Era. Sure, WCW was once upon a time popping, this and that, but I don't care. This was my childhood, and to me, it was perfect, and it will always hold a special place in my heart.